The next tale of Lawless LaFollette comes from 1933, just after the Johnson family deaths and just before Johnson's October trial began from our first episode. So once again, we must think back to the time of these happenings. It was a desperate time in the middle of the Great Depression. The mining, iron, and steel industry was struggling in the area. Norris Dam construction had just begun and was 3 years from completion. The summer had been burning hot in a world without air conditioning, and people were unhappy, longing for anything worthwhile to come along, always looking to the horizon for that next dream. Those feelings are very well captured in John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, a tale about people reaching for hopes at the lowest point of the Depression, trying to find a dream just over the horizon to make life worth living, that dream of a promised land where things are better. The exact circumstances of what led up to the moment that we are about to revisit from 1933 are likely intimate details between a few people that are utterly lost to the sands of time. It seems, however, that the two people in this story did not find that dream to which they could cling. What else may be a part of their story and what led them to the road in Davis Chapel, we don't know. We do know what follows. On Saturday, September 30th, 1933, Mr. W.M. Rose, age 61, described as a well-to-do farmer from Anderson County, very near the aforementioned Norris Dam, and Mrs. Belle Smith, 45, of Jacksboro, were found dead in a car on the Middlesboro to LaFollette Highway in front of the house of Casper Mullins. This is now known as the Old Middlesboro Highway, or much more commonly to the locals as the Davis Chapel Turnoff, located east of LaFollette. The two hadn't had an accident, nor had they died of any natural causes at the exact same time. They had simply driven to that spot on the road and stopped. Upon doing so, W.M. Rose apparently took out a .38 caliber pistol, placed it in Belle Smith's mouth, and shot her through the top of her head. Rose then placed the pistol in his own mouth and once more pulled the trigger. The gun tumbled from his hand and ended up under their entwined legs. We do not know what led to this. We do know that both Rose and Smith were married, but not to each other. Were they lovers who were having an affair on their spouses? It seems likely, but we simply cannot know. We further know that a note was left on a single piece of paper. The piece of paper was dated September 19, 1933, a Tuesday. We can assume the pair was together on this day, as the piece of paper had a written statement from each on either side of the paper. The part of the note written in the hand of Mrs. Smith reads as follows: September 19, 1933. City Hollow. Well, Glenn, you and Clyde be good, and keep out of bad company, and make men of yourselves, and don't let us grieve you both. For me and Steve, we have pulled our last pleasure trip. So when you hear this, let it hurt you not, for we are better off dead than alive. Say goodbye to all. Pay off all I owe. Mr. Rowe's part of the note reads, Belle and me pulled straws on who would do the shooting, so guess who got the long one. Our time is short, we have the time set, and don't care to die and get out of our troubles. Woman, you and Jim can do the best you can. You won't drag us along. Put us together. If you don't, we hope you see us every time you shut your eyes. Signed by both of us, a kiss from both me and Belle to friends. Police Chief Pryor Baird ruled the incident a double suicide. Today it would be called a murder-suicide, but it seems clear that Belle Smith had agreed to die, so perhaps calling it a double suicide is accurate, even if she never touched the gun that killed her. It would seem from his part of the note that Rose expressed his desire for he and Smith to be buried together and left a dire warning about haunting what we assume would be his widow and Smith's husband if it didn't happen. It's not on any record we found how Rose and Smith knew each other. In those days, knowing someone from 20 miles away from your home wasn't nearly as common as today. Just a few years before this time frame, it was common to live your entire life within 10 miles of your home. Each was noted as married. Each also had children. The ages at that time of the children aren't known. Judging by Smith's note, her sons were not yet men at the time she chose to take that final ride with Rose and die to escape whatever troubles they were facing. It may have been that they had been caught in an affair. Adultery was actually illegal in the 1930s, with criminal and civil issues possible from it. For instance, if they were having an affair, Belle Smith's husband would be eligible to collect money from W.M. Rose, and both Rose and Belle Smith could have faced jail time and fines. The law did not impose a way to collect money from Belle Smith to the wife of W.M. Rose. However, it seems that adultery laws, all those decades ago, only saw men as the wronged party. It is also not known why they decided to stop in the middle of the road in front of the Mullins home. Casper Mullins was never mentioned by them in any way. It could have been that they were simply driving, trying to spend just a little extra time together, building up courage. It's hard to conceive drawing straws to see if you had to pull the trigger or if someone you loved had to pull it. Those were inconceivable times to our more modern minds, though. We grow up in LaFollette in Campbell County, and we hear tales about how it happened up the valley, or up the valley is haunted. While we do not know if these tales of haunts are true, bad things happen there over the years, and that is just a fact. These aren't the last of the murders in 1933. That year was a particularly violent one in our area. A potential serial killer was getting started in LaFollette during that year, right around the time Floyd Johnson was having his bad fall, and those star-crossed lovers had decided they could no longer face their troubles. And that's how history recorded it in our Lawless LaFollette. I'm your narrator, Tracy Lobertini, for the Volunteer Times. Thanks for watching.